are you? Pretty good.
Hey. Really? One good full house.
My watch must be slow.
Greg. Greg.
You want to operate it?
Oh, yeah. He's been practicing.
We'll call our July 18th meeting of the Cookeville City Council to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilman Womack.
Here.
Councilman Miller.
Here.
Mayor Shelton.
Here.
Vice Mayor Wheaton. Here. Councilman Walker.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite those that wish to do so to stand for the invocation given tonight by Luke Eldridge, youth pastor of Engrafted Word Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag.
Let us pray. Father, we come to you in Jesus' name. Lord, we thank you for tonight. Lord, we thank you for this meeting. Father, I ask that you give each person represented here, Father, wisdom and the knowledge to make the decisions what's best for this city. And Lord, we thank you for your Son, Jesus, and he died on the cross for our sins. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Luke. Item 3, consider approval of agenda as presented. Are there any changes or corrections?
No, sir, no changes.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All vote.
5 yes votes. Motion carries.
Thank you. Under 4A, consider reappointment to the Environmental Appeals Board. Greg Brown.
Mayor and Council, Patrick Rinks' term on the appeals board is expired. It's a 5-year term. He's agreed to serve another term, and I would recommend you appoint him.
Thank you. Is there a motion for appointment?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All vote.
5 yes votes. Motion carries.
Thank you. Under old business 5A, consider approval of minutes of council meeting held on June 20, 2019. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All vote.
5 yes votes. Motion carries.
5B, consider on second and final reading ordinance O-190608, amending the Cookeville Municipal Code, Title 3, Chapter 1, Section 3-103, enforcement of fines and costs. Ms. Emmel.
Mayor and Council, this ordinance replaces the wording of Section 3103 on enforcement of fines and costs. It'll provide us authorization to use a collection agency pursuant to the state law. There's been no change in the ordinance since first reading, and I would recommend your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All vote.
Thank you.
5 yes votes. Motion carries.
Thank you. Under the consent agenda, 6A, set a date, 8/15/19, for a public hearing on ordinance O-190709, rezoning 50 Broadway Avenue, parcel ID number 39157.03, and a portion of 1493 West Broad Street, parcel ID number 39157.00, from RS20 Single Family Residential to RS5 Single Family Residential. 6B, consider awarding bids for 2019 stuff for the Water Quality Control Department. And 6C, consider awarding bid for lights for the Electric Department. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Anthracite, sorry about that. All vote.
5 yes votes. Motion carries.
7A, new business. Hold a public hearing. Consider on first reading ordinance O-190604, abandoning and declaring as surplus property a portion of the northern right-of-way of Whitson Avenue and a portion of the eastern right-of-way of Arthur Drive, and authorizing the exchange of said property for a portion of parcel 35.10 equal in size. Mr. Mills.
Mayor, council members, earlier this year, I met with Gary McNabb, who owns the property at the intersection of Arthur and Whitson. He came to, if you could go, came to us about a possible setback request. His property is bisected with a storm sewer that makes it limited on where he can develop. And in the process of reviewing it, we looked at the right-of-way on Arthur and Whitson, and especially behind where the Ray Abel's property, there's significant slope there that makes it unlikely the street could ever be widened. Mr. McNabb then had a survey done, which was done by Vic Survey, and it indicated there was 50 feet of right-of-way. for both of these. We then met with our utility departments and public works and to see what their opinions were on possibly declaring a surplus plus a portion of these right-of-ways. All the departments agreed that there was sufficient right-of-way and that we could afford to reduce it by some distance. It was determined that we would keep at least 5 feet from the edge of the current pavement, and then utility easements for any existing utilities. There is a portion of a water line that runs on Arthur there that we would need to retain the utilities. But for the total area that we would declare as surplus consists of 13,248 square feet. So we met again with Mr. McNabb about the possibility of him purchasing this from us, declaring it as surplus, which he then would no longer need or need much less of a setback variance. And in the process, we reviewed our major street plan, and our major street plan had called for the extension of commerce, which would run, if you go to the next slide there, and then one more, please. Well, one more then. This is our major street plan that shows commerce. If you go one more slide. Well, this shows the potential layout of commerce if it was extended where it currently is at Whitson on over to Veterans. And the proposal was we're going to need some additional property that also is owned by Mr. McDabb. So what we come up with is a 1-to-1 swap. It would be the same square footage. And so this ordinance closes and abandons and declares a surplus those portions of Arthur Drive and Whitson, as we've discussed, which is 13,248 square feet. It's subject to the retention of a utility easement 10 feet in width on either side of any existing utility lines, and it authorizes the city managers to exchange said land area for a portion of parcel 3510 equal in size as depicted on the submitted survey prepared by Mike Netherton of our Public Works Department. This proposal was reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission. It's recommended by the Planning Department, and I also concur with this recommendation.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open the public hearing portion of the meeting. Do we have anyone that would like to speak about this matter? No? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. 7B, hold a public hearing and consider on first reading ordinance 0190710, amending the Cookeville Municipal Code, Title 5 by adding Chapter 7, adopting and levying a tax on the privilege of occupancy of a hotel and adopting the manner of collecting and administering the tax. Mr. Mills.
Mayor and council members, in February of this year, the council passed a resolution R190203 requesting legislation to amend the TCA, section 67.4.1425, to exempt the city of Cookeville and allow us to establish an ordinance, by ordinance, a hotel motel tax. Public chapter number 348 was approved on April 25th and signed by the governor on May 10th, which allows us, the city, to establish a hotel motel tax. If approved, the ordinance would establish an additional 3% occupancy tax for a total of 10% for hotels and motels located within the city limits. These funds must be solely used to promote tourism and economic development. And we estimate that the 3% rate will generate approximately $600,000 annually for the city. By this ordinance, the operator will be allowed to deduct 2% of the amount of the tax due as compensation for collecting and remitting the tax. The city clerk is responsible for the collection of the tax. The ordinance would initially allocate all of the funds to the general fund, and thereafter the proceeds could be distributed as the council may direct by ordinance. Collection of the tax would begin on September 1st, 2019. It's my understanding that a minimum of 4 or 5 council members must vote in favor for the tax to be established. I would recommend for approval, and if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Thank you. At this time, we will open the public hearing portion of the meeting about this matter. Do we have anyone that would like to speak about this?
I would like to say that, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Come to the podium and just identify yourself, name, and...
Yeah, Mayor, my name is Yash, and we own the Best Western here in town. We're the ones who are building the Holiday Inn as well. As for, putting taxes, this will put a little pressure on the marketing department of our franchisees as well. We are solely kind of dependent when it comes to, in a matter of getting the reservations, is through the corporates who actually allow us to get all the rooms filled. the market rate, we call it a star report, which trends in that because with the new properties in, once my Holiday Inn is also done, the new one which we're getting open is Candlewood, it's going to put a lot of pressure on our ADRs, by which we mean average daily rates will be very competitive. We don't have enough market that we can get so many people in our hotels to fill these rooms. As I've heard, there are another 2 hotels which are in pipeline, and they're waiting to break ground as I don't know when, but they're supposed to be done. That's going to put an additional burden on the customer itself. Considering the Nashville market, considering the Knoxville market, the amount of hotels which are coming in, the transit people, they may not stop because of the amount of taxes we are going to put in. In the end, to the customer, this tax means the hotel is collecting. In a terms of, let's say, a layman term, he will not see that I'm only charging 60%. The rest of it, let's say $10 or $15, it's coming in the taxes. People don't see that. For them, it's like a part of the rate they're paying overnight. So I would request if you can think over it and maybe if it's possible not to implement this kind of a thing, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Mayor.
it. Anyone else have any comments? Okay. We'll close the public hearing portion. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Yes, sir.
Yes. What you were saying, I think, is relevant. But I think what we can do with some of the proceeds of the 3 cents tourism tax is that we can use that for marketing, to market this area, the motels, the hotels, the tourism areas around here. And I think we can offset some of the hurt that you might suffer from, having a higher tax with more people coming in to use the rooms. So I think on the looking at it from the whole side, we can use some of this 3% for tourism development and marketing to make the area more appealing to more people. We've got our position on the interstate. We've got Tennessee Tech. We've got our beautiful scenery. We've got a lot of things here that can draw people in to spend a night or two here, particularly in the summer vacationing. So I think some of this benefit from the tax will help the motel owners.
Anybody else? One thing I would say, in this has to be used for marketing, and it has to be used for tourism. Okay, so it has to be used to bring people in. It's not going into the general fund. It will be used specifically for things like Councilman Walmack said, and other things related to people coming here to our community. So, and then not that I have to tell you this, but I'm sure you will want to put a big sign up and just say the tax is because of the city, not because of you. So, I mean, I would suggest doing that. Somebody said that last time y'all were here, so I was just throwing that out there. I'm sure you will. So.
One question, Mayor, if you don't mind me asking.
I will, yes, sir.
In case, let's say, I don't know how much tourism is going to support in my occupancy. I apologize, if I'm being a little blunt. That's not a part of our sales which we get in our motels. It's the corporates or the transit people which are filling it up. Let's say, I would, suggest if we are able to come up with some kind of a study if this tax is implemented, let's say after a couple of years or 3 years down the line, and say, okay, if it's not helping the tourism, you think you might consider abolishing it then, probably just to help us out? I mean, it's just a thought as an owner,
Mm-hmm. I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Councilman Walker.
I appreciate what you're saying as well. It's just that Cookeville's a unique town. It's got several exits. It's got places, as I heard Councilman Womack say, catch and release off of I-40. And so we do have a lot of transients that do come to town. And getting them in our hotels, having them eat at a restaurant, it benefits us. I recognize the property tax value that's paid there, but the additional ability for us to do the tourism tax allows us to concentrate a little more on building up that industry, the tourism industry in Cookeville. It lets us focus on pulling in more people to visit our town. I think overall that helps us grow our town in the right direction. I hope to see in the future that it is a benefit. I want to hear that our hotels are full. If that's what's holding them back from being full, I'm definitely interested in having that discussion later on. But I do think it's important that we try to capture this from our transients and our tourists so that we can give them the best product and entice them to come to our area. We've got a beautiful area. We're at the heart of the Upper Cumberland. There's a lot of waterfalls and hiking trails and state parks. We've got more proximity to any state parks than any other place in the state. And so we can really capitalize on that in building Cookeville into a tourism region for that reason, and I hope that we can use this tax for that reason.
Thank you, Councilman Miller.
One of the big things, and I haven't heard anybody else up here talk about this, is the economic development side of the tax. We're going to put money in the economic development fund, and that will help drive corporate development here, which corporate development is, you get a lot of heads and beds because of corporate development, and that's something that I think we really should focus on, is make sure we put a sizable portion of this into our economic development fund for that reason.
Very good. Any other comments? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. 7C, consider approval of 2019 Wellness Screening Program Agreement. Gail Fowler.
Mayor and Council, I'm pleased to present for your approval this evening the annual Wellness Screening Program Agreement between the city and Cookeville Regional Medical Center. This program has been offered to our employees for several years. It's very nice benefit, and it's very popular. It's also offered to spouses and retirees and their spouses. Employees are now also eligible for a premium incentive on their health insurance if they participate in a portion of the program. The services are provided as a health screening and are not considered to be diagnostic in nature, but employees have become aware of potential serious health issues in some instances and sought treatment as a result of this program. The services included are shown on the screen. Some are at no cost to the employee. Additional tests that are available on the second slide are provided at various costs depending on the test. The dates are September 24, 25, 26, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. at the Water Department, thanks to Ronnie Kelly, with a makeup date scheduled for October 1. I'll be happy to try and answer any questions, but would request your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
I do want to just say that this is a wonderful benefit for employees. I love that we offer this. I hope everyone utilizes it. I did last year. It was very efficient. It was very fast. And coming from someone who is in healthcare, that is not how things normally go. So it was wonderful to have that process, and I'm glad we do this.
Very good. All right. All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. 7D, consider authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with HFR Design for the Dogwood Park Master Plan update. Rick Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. This item is for you to consider approval to authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with HFR Design to update the master plan for Dogwood Park. The original master plan was completed in 2007, and that has served us very well. But the park layout and some of the park amenities have changed since that time. And as you know, we have purchased additional property on First Street that is not included in the plan. And this update of the plan will help us address the needs and the desires and the ideas that we might consider for that property and other future potential uses and needs of Dogwood Park. HFR Design is a specialist in park planning and design. They helped us with our Cane Creek Master Land Use Plan and our Parkview Master Land Use Plan, and also our Parkview Skate Park design. Our agreement with them will be not to exceed $15,000. And it will be paid for with a portion of the funds remaining from the 2013 bond issue, which has funds there specifically for Dogwood Park. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and I would recommend your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Very excited about this.
Well, one thing interesting is that the skateboard park is fairly successful right now. I've been driving by at random times in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and there's always at least 3 or 4 people there skateboarding or on their little scooter or on their mountain bike. So the skateboard park that we've developed seems to be somewhat successful. So I'm looking forward to something happening at Dogwood to make it more successful.
All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. 7E, consider approval of purchase of 3 pre-owned pursuit vehicles from the Missouri State Highway Patrol. Chief Evans.
Mayor and council, as you can see there, I'm just asking that that you approve the purchase of these 3 vehicles. 2 of those are Dodge Chargers. One is a Ford Explorer, 2016 Ford Explorer. We've purchased from the Missouri State Highway Patrol in the past and had great success out of those vehicles. They are pursuit vehicles that they have surplused and taken off the road. Typically, they'll have 50 to 55,000 miles each on them. I think the Explorer may be a little higher mileage than that, maybe at 60 or 65,000 miles. Whatever factory warranty that remains on there, we retain that. The Chargers are $17,950 each, and the Explorer is $18,950 for a total of $54,850. It is a drug fund purchase, and I'd recommend your approval. It is a budgeted item as well.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. 7F, consider approval of the list of general contractors as pre-qualified bidders for pre-construction services for the new police headquarters. Chief Evans.
Mayor and council, as you know, last month you approved the delivery method for our new police department design, and part of that part of this method that we're using is 50%. As we reach 50% of the design documents, then we would advertise for a general contractor. You can see there by the slide. Can you back up one, Greg? There we go. We sent an advertisement out for an RFQ on the 7th, and that went into the local papers and also into plans rooms. At that time, we had 10 general contractor companies pick up packets, and we don't have visibility on those that took those out of the plans rooms, but I suspect there were several of those that were reviewed out of that process. On June the 14th, we had established a pre-proposal meeting. That meeting was canceled, essentially just lack of necessity. None of the contractors seemed interested in participating, so we canceled that meeting. We also set a deadline for June the 21st if there are any questions, and we did receive a few questions that did receive some responses from our architect. Then on June the 28th, by June the 28th was the deadline to respond back to those, and we did meet that deadline. July the 19th was the deadline for the RFQ submission packets. We had 6 companies that submitted their qualifications. On July the 11th, we established a committee to review those packets. The committee consisted of members from the city, department director, city manager, and our architect, Mr. Peter Metz. And we're going to recommend, the committee recommends these 4 companies to be pre-qualified as bidders for pre-construction services. I'd recommend your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. I want to say something, and then we'll take, if anybody has any questions from the council. On behalf of the council and this staff, I would like to acknowledge for the record that the companies that submitted for this very important project are all highly successful and qualified companies that contribute greatly to our community, their industry, and to the entire Upper Cumberland region. The process that was established for pre-qualification for this particular project was just that, a process requesting very specific information for this very specific public safety building. Past experience building public safety facilities was just one of the many critical items of the pre-qualification process. This process in no way implies a company is inadequate. It simply identifies the companies who best meet the specific requirements for this particular facility. So I want to personally thank all the companies that submitted and appreciate all the time and effort put forth by our city staff. So, do we have any comments or questions from the council? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. 7G, consider approval of a one-year contract extension with Retail Strategies for retail development marketing and consulting services. Melinda Kiefer.
Mayor and council, I have before you, it needs to stay with James. I guess it's missing him. I don't know. He's always run the clicker. So bringing to you a request for an extension for year 5 for a relationship with Retail Strategies as our marketing and development consultant for retail services. You have in your packets, and you see on the slides here, of the different activities they've gone through with us this year. They're currently apparently working with 7 projects that are looking at properties in Cookeville. I think the most important thing for us is they kind of are our outside voice. The conferences, the different meetings they attend, the brokers, the relationships with the national brands is just not something that our budgets or staff-wise we can really kind of pull off. So to have them as our partners in this is hugely beneficial. We have already seen many, many rewards from the relationships, and I can guarantee there's even more coming down the pike. One of the things that they help us to determine is what is our gap analysis. And so this is done every 2 years. We're due for an update in 2019. And so we can go back and kind of look at the areas where we still have capacity to increase our retail sales. And we all know at the end of the day, funding our budget to deliver services to our citizens is mostly retail tax dollars. So everything we can do, that truly is part of economic development. And I guarantee you people come in here and travel to shop and stay at hotels from around this region. So the annual contract is $25,000. It is a budgeted item, and I'd like to ask for your recommendation and approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any comments? Call vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. 7H, consider approval to enter into a contract with the United States Department of Agriculture for federal assistance under the Natural Resources Conservation Service Emergency Watershed Protection Program to repair storm drainage to the Falling Water River along Boyd Ferris Road. Greg Brown.
Mayor and council, we're requesting approval to request federal assistance from the Department of Agriculture, their watershed protection program. In February 2019, we had a storm that caused the slope between Boyd Ferris Road and the Falling Water River to fail. Part of the slope caused the street to fail, as well as sliding to the river, about halfway blocking the river. We've temporarily stabilized it. The road is open. This project would permanently remove the slide from the river, as well as permanently stabilize the slope. Part of this work will be on private property. We have acquired the right of entry to those 2 property owners in their agreement with this project. The estimated cost prepared by the Department of Agriculture is $81,316. Cookeville's 25% match will be $20,329. These are not to exceed amounts. If we bid this out and it comes in higher, I'll come back to you and we will get approval, or we'll decide not to do it. If it comes in much higher, we'll try to come up with something else. Thought I had a picture in there. I request your approval.
And give the clicker back to James. So we're going to put that in the city manager contract. He is the only one that can do that. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion
Thank
carries.
you.
All right. 7, consider approval to purchase rock salt from statewide bid contract. Greg Brown.
Mayor and council, this year Morton Salt is has the contract for our region of the state to supply road salt. The price is $77.69 per ton. We have a budgeted amount of $50,000 for salt, so that'll about 643 tons. I would request your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. 7J, consider authorizing the mayor to execute TDOT Contract Amendment 1 Utility Adjustment Washington Avenue Repaving Project. Ronnie Kelly.
Mayor and council, I'm here requesting the council authorize the mayor to execute TDOT Contract Amendment Number 1 on the Washington Avenue Repaving Project. Council authorized the mayor to execute the original contract back in February of this year, which included the utility adjustments in that project. TDOT bid the project, rejected all bids, and at that point, took our utility adjustments out and rebid it again. And so therefore, we bid it ourselves in-house. And so this amendment is to delete the original contract and then will allow us to get back our $57,000 plus that we had submitted to TDOT. I'd recommend your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion second. Any discussion? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. 7K, consider awarding bid for 2019 North Washington Avenue Utility Adjustment Project. Ronnie Kelly.
Let me get to my slide here. There it comes. Okay, so like I mentioned before, we put that out to bid. CK Masonry was the low bidder at $61,450, and we'd recommend approval, subject to maybe a future change order on this project. We're working with TDOT and the contractor on some issues out there, so we may come back to you, but I'd recommend approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All vote.
5 yes
Thank
votes,
you.
motion carries.
Thank you. 7J, consider awarding bid for one mini digger derrick for the electric department. Carl Haney.
Mayor and council members, we received bids for a mini digger derrick with low bid meeting specs being ring power for $160,517. This is a budgeted item and I respectfully request your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank
That
you.
concludes our agenda portion. We have time at the end for citizens that would like to address the council on non-agenda items. Do we have anyone that would like to do that? No? Council members, do we have anybody have anything? No? We're adjourned.
I'd like to see what a mini derrick looks like.
I'd like to see what a mini.
It's neat. It's a neat little thing.
It's very small and compact.
It's got a
That would be good. I'll put it in there anyway.
Yeah, it's got a scoop, like an auger.
I think we're going back to James.
Gigantic auger out the end. It's got a scoop so we can scoop up dirt and bore holes. Oh, it's neat. It's only $180,000. Oh, yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Everyone needs one for the
Right at 6:02.